good call. Is that the live signal? Yes. We are live, folks. Go on. It's Brian from SeacoastBeverageLab.com, and this is the one and only Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast for Wednesday. Always forget the date. The 15th of October, 2014, episode number 94. I feel like I say that number every week because it seems like we're getting closer and closer to 100, but we're getting there. 94. And we're just talking about beer tonight. We have a special guest maybe showing up later on a different time zone, but we'll figure it out when if the time comes. If it doesn't, forget it. But I'm drinking the Apex Predator from it's a farmhouse ale from Off Color Brewing from Chicago, and big fan. I got it over at the Craft Beer Cellar in Newton, Massachusetts yesterday. Great store. I mean, all the stores are fantastic. So look at yourself.
Pretty good label right there with a
good label. I mean, look at that.
A lion on it. A
little shiny too. I don't know if you can catch that. It's like it almost looks like a scratch ticket, but I don't want to scratch down there. It's kind of up here. But anyway, Carla, what's happening? Welcome back.
Hey, how you guys doing? Carla, Beer Babe here. I'm actually drinking some Cincinnati beer. It's Rheingeist Cougar. Got sent that by a Twitter friend, and I will be sending him back some Maine beer. So I got to figure out what to pack up that's like a taste of Maine. But that'll be fun.
Sweet. Let's go to Norman. Look at that beard. Coming in hot every week.
The beard's getting a little long, I know. How's everyone doing? Norman Miller, the Beer Nut, Metro West Daily News, Real Beer Nut on Twitter. And tonight, I am enjoying a Jack's Abbey Copper Legend. That's about it.
Awesome. I'm a huge. It's a small bottle, right? Or do you have a growler?
Yeah, it's a 12 ounce. I picked up a 6-pack. I couldn't find a bottle, but yeah, 12 ounce.
I think that's the best idea they could ever done is put that beer in a 6-pack. Oh my God, so awesome. Was it always in a 6-pack though?
Well, last year they were still doing all the beers in 15.9.
That's what it was. Okay, yeah, I'm a big fan. That's one of my favorite. But that and Berkshire's Hoptoberfest are my two faves.
Oh, I know. I drank quite a few of those already this year.
'Tis the season. Shano, sup?
Hey, I'm Sean Jansen from twobeerguys.com. I'm currently drinking a Stoneface IPA from Newington, New Hampshire.
So awesome. Bringing the local love. Well played. Well, how's everyone's last week? I literally just came from a beer dinner at the Sheridan in Portsmouth. The ladies a throwback, having a little beer dinner there.
Awesome.
So there'll be some gassy burps throughout the show. I'll try to mute because there's some great food and some awesome beer. But other than that, what did I do last week? I was just kind of putzing around. I was in Boston yesterday for a little day job action. Went to some great bars. If you guys are in the area in Boston the weekend or what have you, check out a little place called the Tip Tap Room. It's on Cambridge Street in Boston, right by Government Center. It's fantastic beers on draft and all that. But yeah, that's pretty much what happened with me. Let's start, Normie. Let's go off roster here. What do you got? Off the rotation.
Actually, I had a pretty quiet weekend. Drank a lot of beer at home. Did a lot of chores and things like that. I have a bunch of things coming up, so I figured to take it easy this past weekend. So I haven't done anything since a couple weeks ago. I don't think I did a book signing at Rising Tide, not this past weekend, the weekend before. That went really well up in Portland.
Nice.
Got to try some excellent beers. Talked to a couple beer buddies, Chatta from If You Hosted Could Talk, and Active Beer Geek. Little Ben came. He stroked my beard, so I gave him a little tap on the butt and sent him on his way like a good little boy. So it was a good weekend.
And I feel bad because Chatta came a long ways to see you. I could have just drove 45 minutes, but I didn't. So sorry.
Well, for Chatta, they actually had to come further south. They were shopping for some stuff for their kids, so he actually wasn't that far from Portland.
That's cool.
They actually stopped in Portland, I think, for lunch.
Beer buddy Chad. Awesome. Portland area. Carla, what did you get up to last week? Anything crazy?
Yeah, so I totally missed Norm coming to my town, and I'm a little bummed about it because he never comes up here. So, no, I was actually in Los Angeles for a work trip. And had zero time for good beer. The best beer that I had while I was out there was a Fat Tire, which was fine, but I was not at the type of establishments that had a large selection of beer. And on my way home in Chicago, my only choices were Sam Adams and the Chicago airport, which made me a little sad because I wanted some more Chicago beer. Not that Sam Adams is bad. I enjoy Sam Adams, but I traveled all this way to Chicago to taste something else other than the beer from Boston. But that's just me. I always luck out with getting the terminal with the worst selection or the fewest beers available. It's just my luck. It's some kind of karma. Especially when I have a nice 3-hour layover to kill. Yeah, Boston. So I just downloaded a couple of addicting games on my phone, and I just sat there for a while. So.
Sweet. Well, I'm glad you traveled safe back. If you want some entertaining Twitter feeds to read, check out Carla's feed from yesterday. Nothing but Ebola. That's good.
Well, short story about that is that my phone, I have an Android phone, so it gives me stuff that's relevant to whatever I'm doing. It's very creepy and helpful at the same time. As I was looking up stuff about airports, it decided to push to me every news story that had something to do with people on planes with Ebola, people like planes turning around because they were broken. Like, I could not get away from stories about like horror things that were going to happen to me on the plane. So I was like, I'm just going to not read anymore. That's no good.
Good gravy. And Shano, you staying away from the Ebolas?
Yep, I stay away from that as much as I can.
Good. Because I know those band trips, that marching band's all chock full of Ebola.
Exactly. Everyone's coughing on each other. You never know what happens.
Oh, God.
But some of the beer stuff that I've done recently, last week we had a great, I think Norm's talking, we can't hear him, which is perfect.
Perfect. Business as usual.
Business as usual. Last week I went to a cool little beer and foodie type event. It was a Taste of Concord. It was about 30 restaurants that had different like little dishes that they had and beer pairings with them, and you could. It was a fundraiser event, but it was a pretty cool. There was just a lot of different foods from different restaurants in the Concord, New Hampshire area. Fun event to go to. Then on Monday I was invited to talk to some Scottish breweries from the Scottish Development group that's out of Boston, and they brought, I think, 11 Scottish breweries over to the United States, they're all sizes from Edinburgh, Glasgow, all the way north up to, there's a brewery called Loch Ness.
Awesome.
And they were just kind of, they want to, the group's idea is to increase Scottish business in the United States, and this was to kind of bring a little bit more Scottish trade of brewery activity to New England and actually the United States. So, and there was 3 different people that spoke to the group: an importer, then myself. I brought one of my colleagues, and along with the manager from the Coat of Arms, to kind of talk about the retail side of the business, and then Brian Murphy from the Mass Bev Alliance kind of talked about it from their perspective of selling beer in Massachusetts. It's kind of interesting to hear colleagues in the industry speak, even outside of the New Hampshire market that I work in day to day, where Boston's population of craft beer is the largest in the state, but almost up there too, and it's not due to population, but Boston is a very active craft scene, and that's anywhere basically east of Boston from the coast all the way kind of like up to like the Lowell line. There's a really big craft market there. It was interesting to see because I live in it every day. Kind of hear that being presented to breweries from Scotland.
I think it's cool because so that they're coming over here to kind of learn the ways of what we do. Yeah, I don't know if any of you recall, but when I think it was last year, Somebody Knows was invited by some local brewery out in wherever England to basically come over and brew with them. And it wasn't just to say we have Somebody Knows in our town, but it was to kind of give credibility to these breweries that are trying to not copy but kind of get the same sort of uptick in craft brewing that we have here in America. So they invited Somebody Knows over to then go to these bars and say, this brewery brewed this beer with this great other brewery from the U.S. and try to get this brewery popularity, which I thought was pretty cool. It was a different way. I forget the name of the brewery, but where you can figure out the name of the brewery is a little book called New Hampshire Beer. It's in there.
Yes.
But
look right in the index.
Yeah,
we'll find it right away.
I thought it was a cool thing. Is so if you want to, here's this small brewery in a small town of, I'll say Yorkshire or somewhere in England. and they just want to get their name out. Well, invite this other brewery who already appreciates the style, and they're just trying to figure out the whole craft beer scene in England, which is booming for sure. But then my second point to that was you said you were out with was it Rob of Coat of Arms?
Yeah, Rob of Coat of Arms. He kind of joined in and helped out. And
I love what they're trying to do at the Coat of Arms, and he's trying to get he's a cellarman now, so I think what they're going to be doing at the Coat of Arms, which in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, it's fantastic.
They already have five cask engines, and it's kind of the largest in New England. But he's all about making sure that the beer is handled properly and served properly, and it's as fresh as could be. If you go to Coat of Arms and have a cask, it's guaranteed that you're going to have a really good cask or a real ale experience.
I wholeheartely appreciate that. It's awesome.
One of the interesting things, if I can dive into a little bit of the conversation, is that they didn't. These folks, they were smaller and all different size breweries, and they didn't necessarily have a big concept of like what the U.S. beer market was, and there was a conversation of like what beer styles do you bring in? Do you have to always bring in traditional Scottish brews to be able to sell as an import in the United States? And I think our feedback to them was that if you make a really good beer, it could be an IPA, it could be a Belgian double, it doesn't matter. That if you make a really good beer, that it's going to sell in the market.
Yep, you'll find it in the market.
There's no reason not to do an IPA if it's going to be cellar. Now, that means that we're not. I mean, it's not hot for British IPAs right now, but if you're making a variation of the American IPA and it's as good as quality as what we get here, I think you'll do as well as people that are here local. And kind of make sure that your branding kind of fits in. And we really I kind of made sure I drove home of like, make sure that your product's priced in the market properly. If it costs more to get here, and if it's a lot more money to have than other things on the shelf, people aren't going to buy it to try it for that first time. You kind of really have to kind of do a little bit of homework of figuring out where your beer. And if you're going to do an everyday amber, it doesn't matter if you're the brewery down the street or the brewery that's brewing in Scotland. It's got to be really good and priced right. It can't be like a $13 12-ounce bottle for an amber.
Yeah.
So it was really cool, and they were very open to just suggestions and kind of feeling out what the industry's like. So it was a really fun thing to be invited to. But that also led to, after that, we a couple of us went over to make a visit to Night Shift for the first time.
Oh, you bastard.
Our GPS took us to the old location first, which I'd never been to, and the old location is pretty scary of where it was in, the buildings that were in. Definitely no signs over there, but their new place looks amazing. And once they start brewing on their new brew system, it's pretty spectacular. They're going to be pumping out some beer, some great beer to be had by everybody.
Do you see that barrel room?
Barrel room. It was the whole room.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. You could literally. It was a football field inside of the place they have right now. It is massive. You could set up Arnold Schwarzenegger with like 14 ping pong tables to play everybody with the space that they got.
Oh, he references a Bud Light commercial, but I'll take it. That's fine. Oh, there's Norm.
And I've also I've stopped at some of the locals. We'll stop in Stoneface where I got the bottle, but hadn't been to Red Hook for a while, and I picked up a Nitro Porter on draft.
Yes.
It was nice, smooth, and delicious. So
I think
one of those things that
they have some really good stuff in their pub. If anybody drives past Red Hook and goes, yeah, Red Hook, you should stop in every once in a while because they make some of the stuff they've got on tap there, especially stuff they do nitro, is really, really good.
Yeah, and stay tuned for next week too, because we're gonna be talking about not just Red Hook, but a little bit about their festival that's happening.
I've heard
next
that they're going to be
weekend.
pulling out some beers from the vault for this, including possibly some Saturnalia.
Oh, Carla's favorite.
Yeah.
I love Saturnalia, seriously.
Yeah, if you were to ask me what Carla's favorite beer is, Saturnalia. Sean's favorite beer, All Day
Saturnalia. It is.
Saturnalia, yeah.
It is a good beer.
And then Norm's favorite beer is Norm, but that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I like it a lot.
Well, so we were talking about the thing you went to down in Boston, but wasn't there? I was at CBC the day before yesterday, reading Cambridge Brewing Company, and I was reading something that they were at something at Sam Adams or Harpoon the night before. What was that? Anyone see that?
Harpoon. It was part of the Brooklyn Brewery Mash. Steve Hindy, who just wrote a book, I believe it's called Craft Beer Revolution.
Yep.
Steve Hindy is founder of Brooklyn Brewing Company. It was him, Jim Cook, Will Meyer from Cambridge Brewing Company, Dan Paquette from Pretty Things, and Dan Canary from Harpoon. They all had basically a talk where people could come and they would talk about the early days of craft brewing and the history, and that basically, that talk apparently inspired Dan Paquette to go on a little Twitter rant early in the morning, from early Tuesday morning for about 3 hours. I saw a tweet said that he was inspired by Steve Hindy and Jim Cook just listening to the stories, and he suddenly went on to that rant that everyone in the beer world's been talking about lately, about the pay-for-play, basically bars charging breweries or breweries paying to get their beers on tap in bars, and basically pushing out other breweries that aren't willing to do something like that.
There's a bunch of different things. I mean, that was the main argument. Then I saw a couple tweets where it was like the whole, breweries won't want to go to a place that doesn't clean their lines, things like that. So it was kind of like an array of like 2 a.m. tweets of just... No,
that dirty line thing, yeah. But
the dirty line was referencing the corruption, not the dirt physically. So it was...
Okay.
It was the reference, and that's why I don't love the hashtag, because I want to report every bar that ever has had a dirty tap line, but that's a totally different argument. But no, the dirty line, the shady criminal.
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch a metaphor on that one.
So because the thing is that his main thing is that there's what he's alleging is that there are some bars that will force breweries to pay if they want to be on tap, want to have a line, or want to have a dedicated line. Which is strictly illegal. It's in Massachusetts specifically, but in most states that's completely illegal to do that. But the thing that came out of this that was kind of interesting was that he portrayed it as if it's everywhere, and people didn't disagree with him that it's rampant, that it's happening. But what people are annoyed about is that there are very few people that are willing to turn anybody in that is doing this. So basically it just perpetuates. There's no enforcement of anything because there's no one telling on anyone. So he was venting a lot of his frustration in that. But you have to keep in mind that there are only a couple ways to respond to this. One is, there was a newspaper article that came out today that said something like, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the acronym, it's like AAC, whatever, the Liquor Control Board hasn't actually made an action on any kind of an accusation like this for 18 years. There's been absolutely no charges filed of this type of thing, this pay-to-play violation, for 18 years. That tells me one of two things. Either it's not happening, which if you go by all of the brewers that say it is happening, it probably is happening, or B, nobody cares enough to actually report it, or they're too afraid to report it because they think it's going to somehow, destroy their own relationship. So they don't, they just get mad. And it's like, okay, but if you're just going to sit there and get mad and not actually report it in the official way and document things, then I don't know if I have as much sympathy as when I first started getting into this. For me, it's, you might have to check out a little and be... But there are ways to report this that you don't necessarily have to call the cops on the spot and be the one that did it. You can turn them in and say, look, here's the email where the guy asked me for $5,000 to put my beer on. There you go. Forward.
I don't think you'll ever see it in an email. That's part of the problem, though.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, there were people on the Beer Advocate thread that were, and granted that's a grain of salt right there, but there were people on the Beer Advocate thread that said they had emails to that effect. And I'm like, then turn them fucking in. And turn them in.
We have explicit on here. We're talking about beer, so that's fine. But Carla, how dare you?
The good thing is that, I have no knowledge if it's true or not, but at least Dan Paquette named names, unlike everyone else who hints to it over the years. Again, I have no clue if it's true those bars are doing it. I'm not saying it is, but at least he did that, what Carla's saying. He put a name to it.
Started it.
So, and I don't know if you saw the response from the owners of Bukowski / Taps, and
Yeah, that was
kind
not
of,
the most professional thing I've ever read.
but hey, he's obviously angry. The one negative I think that came out of it, and I don't think Dan meant it to, was when we were talking a little in the pre-show about how he had that one tweet about a newish Boston area brewery that's on tap everywhere, which is a tweet he actually did delete, but by that time everyone had seen it, and he basically started running rampant. I'm on a couple Facebook beer groups. I'm on Beer Advocate, and there's brewery after brewery being named, and you see breweries coming out on Beer Advocate saying, no, we do not, like Mayflower, Berkshire, Jack's Abbey. They all came out and basically shot down as them because a couple of those breweries are the ones being named as possible
Wow.
culprits, even though, but.
And if he hadn't tweeted that, I think the conversation on places like Beer Advocate could have actually been more productive because that thread ended up being, well, who do you think it is? Could it be Jack's Abbey? Could it be Cisco? Could it be, it ended up being this speculative rumor mill as opposed to what it started off as, which was a real discussion about, wow, is this really happening? And this is not a good thing for the industry, for anybody. Because this is something that I said at the beginning of the pre-show, is that when you have something like this that's illegal, you either have everybody who plays by the rules, and you kind of agree that that's how you're going to act, and that works. Or you don't have the rule in the first place and you let the free market do it. What we have here is we have the problem of half of the people, and that's just whatever, half of the people are doing it and being good, and the other half are doing this illegal practice. And the problem there is that just breaks the entire system down. If the difference
but the problem is, Carlo, that there's no straight umbrella of what the illegal practice is.
Like, what? Yeah.
Oh, but there is. In the
There
freaking
actually, no, there isn't. State to state, there is.
Yeah, but if we're talking about Massachusetts by itself right now, which is the source of a lot of this, is there are things that say in that law about the amount of value that something can be, because there are some states where, okay, you can give away stuff like a sign for your bar because it's under, $200 in value or something. But the allegations that are flying back and forth about the amount of money being exchanged, there's no gray area here. I mean, like, some of it, we're not even talking about the gray area stuff. The, like, oh, let me give you some glassware and let me clean out your tap lines. Like, we're not even talking about that. We're talking about that straight up, if you want to be on tap here, you have to pay us money.
Cash to chain. Yeah.
Cash. It's literally like, that is not, to me, you can get into the gray shit all you want. And the other thing is that, the enforcement of the little stuff, I understand why that's going by the wayside, because you don't want to chase down every $5 transaction between, for a case of glasses or something. But when you have the amount of competition that's going on in the market now, the amount of breweries that are out there now, if you don't start nipping the big stuff in the bud, it's only going to get worse.
And I think, and unfortunately for this podcast and what we have going for us is we preach to the choir. I mean, everyone that we talk to anyway, that listens to this show is kind of in the know anyway. You have a bar that you like to get beer A, you go to that bar. But you might know the shadiness that might be happening, but as far as the listeners and the viewers of this podcast are concerned, they kind of can skirt that, but it's kind of the public that's being kind of duped in this game, right? Because we go to the bars we like, and we can kind of spot these things from a mile away. But and then sometimes it might take Twitter to bring some of the specifics, the actual culprits to light. I don't know. But
the biggest problem is, especially now that, like Carlos said, there's so many more breweries, and bars can't keep up. Even like the good beer bars. I mean, go to Sunset Grill. It has 113 beers on tap. They can't keep up with everything, even in New England, let alone if you want to have other taps. And there's going to be more and more fights among craft brewers. I mean, this is the kind of thing that craft brewers used to complain about the big breweries doing.
Right.
Hey, we'll give you this and that, and to keep the tap lines. Now you're going to see more regular, craft might fall into that trap. We need to have this certain amount of tap lines on, even if they're not making money on them, just to, for purposes just to market themselves. And the problem is, you might have a decent brewery that's making a lot of beer that has enough money to pay for that, or you might have a really good brewery. I'll just use something like Treehouse as an example. Just because they're a real hot brewery, they make great beers, but most of the beers on tap, say if they go to a bar in Boston, Bar S, whatever it's called, and they won't take a beer unless you pay $5,000. Treehouse doesn't have it, and another brewery, I'll just call Smith Brewing Company. Oh, crap. Smith Brewing Company. Anyways, that makes decent beer, but not great beer. But they're like, hey, look, we really want to have 2 tap lines. Well, that'll cost you $10,000. Treehouse, what about us? Well, give us $5,000. You can have one of them, and that's just sucks.
Yeah.
So what it does,
some small good brewers might lose their spot.
It removes the natural competition. The natural competition should be, the bar is sitting there going, well, I like X beer better than Y beer, and I'm not going to put you on until you make better beer. That gives feedback back into the system. It says, okay, I've got 18 IPAs on, I don't need another IPA. Maybe that brewery will go back and brew something else. But when it's just literally I can't afford to get on there, that's different than what would happen naturally.
Well, yeah, 'cause is this a sign of not the bubble necessarily, but the sign of like these bad attitude brewers coming to light? Because there's a lot of good beer out there that can be put on taps, no problem, no questions asked. But if someone has to go through these means and ways of getting their beer on the tap, are we seeing a new set of brewers that shouldn't really be in the business?
No, I think it's just always been there. I think it's always been there that the mode for the voice has changed.
Okay.
Yes.
There are more opportunities for a vocal voice, whether or not you are public or whether or not you are hidden behind a fake name to say something. Meaning like the anonymous, but just a random name, a random posting of someone sort of whacking the beehive. I think there's a little bit more. People have you can get your voice out quicker.
Yeah.
Now with how the media is open to a wide vast amount of people.
And I don't know. I mean, another. What do you got, Carl? What's going on here?
Cincy beer. It's a Soul Drifter Blonde Ale with strawberries. So we have a strawberry.
Ooh, strawberries.
So we were in last year we were talking about it where every brewery that is out, has a strong social media presence. But are we now at a time where the bar is now in power and the brewer has no power, where a person
hasn't the bar always had the power?
Right, well, the bar and the distributor has always had more power than the brewer.
But to me, I think if some, and I'm not in the bar business or the beer business, but if someone's coming up to me and keeps asking me to put this beer on, would you not look into it, or would you charge that brewery more to put your beer on tap? I guess I don't understand. Oh, all right, but I guess my point is I figured we had a strong social media presence with these breweries last year. I think that's all that it might take to get your beer on tap. But so is it the bars that are playing the games, or is it the breweries that are playing the games, or is it a little bit of both?
I think there's actually. I think Go ahead, Noah.
No, I think it's both. I mean, you say like, oh yeah, the breweries have to have a strong social media game, but more and more breweries are having good social media games.
Yeah.
And the problem is, people had a false. I'm not sure if it's false, but everyone looked at, the brewing community has such great camaraderie and everyone works together. That's not necessarily true. I mean, they have a good relationship a lot of times, but it's still a business. You still have to support yourselves. And when you're put in that position where we need to get more beer out, and if we don't, it's going to hurt us, what can we do to get more beer out? You might have a brewery that's willing to play the game, even if it's illegal, to get the beer out, because that's their business. And it's not necessarily that they're trying to hurt another brewery. It's just they're trying to make sure they survive. And
I agree with that. There's you say you don't want to compete with it, but if you're at a craft bar and there's no mass-produced beers at it, you're really only competing with people that are in the same basically situation.
Yeah, I know.
And it is competition. You want to sell beer to keep your lights on and pay your employees.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I mean it's not necessarily they're trying to hurt the other brewery. They're trying to help their own brewery. Unfortunately, at the same time, they are hurting another brewery.
I mean, really, there's a lot of factors. There's not just one factor that actually goes
Right.
into any of this stuff.
There's tons
Where I mean, price is a huge factor. You know what I mean? You'd be surprised at the number of restaurants that from their books they make more money off the actual sale of beer because of the price point than they do on the food itself. So that there's a lot of restaurants that actually rely on that sale of beer, and not just beer. It's any spirits and wine at the same time. That because that there's a larger markup in the way that the industry works, their food margin is probably minuscule in comparison to the rest of the money that they're making off of the beverages that they're selling. So when you take a look at it, they're in the restaurant business, it's a little bit more aggressive towards where they're making the larger margins towards, and that's just the way the business is run. That is capitalism right there.
Right.
You have to look and see, am I going to make money off of a $2 taco, or am I going to make money off of the 8 margaritas I just sold?
Yep, and to anybody who's throwing their hands up, going, well, we all need to get along, and it's the craft beer community. You all need to remember that brewing and selling beer and distributing beer, they're all businesses at the end of the day, except for the people who are on, trust funds or something. At the end of the day, if you're not able to run a successful business and make a profit, you can't keep doing what you're doing. Period.
You may start the business because you love brewing beer, but then you realize you're not paying your mortgage unless you're making money.
Right.
Yep. And that doesn't necessarily turn everyone into jerks or anything. It's just that's the reality. We've had this very rosy picture of how craft beer works. We're all helping each other, and it's all wonderful, and it's all pretty. And we need to come back down to and mature a little bit and realize that bottom line, they're businesses. And some are going to make decisions that make people happy, and some are going to make decisions that piss people off. But at the end of the day, they're businesses.
I think I guess, and here's me being old rosy Brian here, as they call me on the streets. No, it's I think
you're a jolly old fella.
Oh, the old fella, yeah, like the old salt here. No, I think the good silver lining to this whole thing is some bars that not necessarily have the best beer lines might be able to get better beers and then bring people to those beer bars, creating a more widespread, places to go for beer. So, brewery X.
Any bar that wants to get better beer, they can literally order it.
But I'm saying now that this whole thing is going. But I'm saying now that you're like, oh well, this brewery is pulling these tricks. Well, fuck it. Here, come have your beer on our taps, and that brings more people to my bar. So.
Yeah,
I think it's more.
You say that there's an opportunity right now for someone to take advantage of it and promote their own business by doing good business.
Yeah, and then it comes down to make sure that bar that's not used to having good beer on tap treats your beer well. That's a whole different story. But I'm just saying, once you get that good beer in your bar, make sure you treat it well. I don't know.
I think every brewery out there, if possible, they would have their beer on at every restaurant out there in the world, either the sports bar, the high-end restaurant, the sub shop, the hamburger joint, all the way down to just a regular dive bar. Everybody wants to have their beer on there, and they want to have their beer be served. The problem is that not every restaurant has a clientele that's going to pay for the price of that beer.
Yeah, that's true.
You look at someone that could afford a $3 bottle of beer versus someone that can afford an $8 bottle of beer. It's or $8 pint of beer, or 10-ounce pint of beer, 10-ounce beer for $8. So it really comes down to, that not every restaurant fits every brewery, because not every beer is priced the same.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
And I appreciate the honesty, Sean, because you're the one that knows a lot about that kind of thing. So it's good to have that kind of input on this topic.
I'll tell you, and I've said this straight up on the show beforehand, the craft beer explosion between Massachusetts and New Hampshire. In New Hampshire is directly hindered by happy hour.
True.
To have happy hour, restaurants know where that there is a price ceiling of what they could buy to be able to afford to be able to sell the beer at that cost, and that's straight up price selling at and price that they can that they're willing to buy within their to keep their lights on.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, that could be somebody is priced out of a restaurant because of that. But that's just the market. That's the way that the market's working.
Yeah. Oh man. So how one 140 character thing could just freaking spin this up.
Yeah. The bottom line, though, the only way if people want it to change, I mean, ask me more than just one brewer going on a Twitter rant. Ask the other brewers instead of retweeting and say, yeah, this is going on, this is important.
Yeah.
They actually have to get out there and say the same things and actually name some bars instead of just saying this is very important what the is saying, this is going on all over Boston, because if just one person's saying it and then everyone else going, yeah, well, support them and support it if it's really going on and it's really a problem. The brewers have to, more than just rah, they actually have to come up and talk to themselves, or I'm not going to get the best. It'll be looked at by the DC and whatever, and then.
Well, I'm afraid this Beergate situation is not going away anytime soon. We've had the was it Beer War? Not Beer Wars. Craft vs. Crafty last year. This, what started a couple days ago on Twitter might, snowball into something crazier than we know. Just because, Twitter. If Twitter's good for one thing, it's throwing people under the bus, and we might have started something here.
The rapid spread of information, whether that information is good or bad, is irrelevant. That's
Gotcha.
Yep. Is really quick spreading of stuff.
Just these 2:30 drunk tweets. Hey, I mean, if anything, they're good for the show, so keep them coming. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the interesting thing though is that after the first one, he didn't delete it, nor did he stop sending the next 15.
Right.
So.
And,
there was a lot. There was a lot.
And even if in this one situation, nothing comes out of this one particular allegation or this one particular rant, it's gotten all of us talking about it.
Yeah.
And there's some value to that. I mean, just the fact that anybody's bringing any of this into the open and, informing people that this can happen and that, they should be on the lookout for it, I think that's valuable. Whether or not, Dan's tweets by themselves are going to change the world, I don't know, but it got people talking, I'll tell you.
And especially if you didn't know Pretty Things, you know them now. And if you didn't know them, what's going on here? But,
well, that's a sad thing too, though. If you only now know Pretty Things because of this, you're missing out on one of the best saisons created in New England and beyond.
And you're missing out on one of the best podcasts, November 16, 2012. So I'm just tossing it out.
Yeah, he had more guests that were like crazy and bouncing off the wall than we've had on any other episode.
80 episodes ago. What are you guys waiting for? So more on that. We might come back next week with it because as of now,
it's not over.
It's just the egg hasn't been hatched. It's like a little reptar claw just coming out of there, figuring out what's going on here. So next week we could have something else. Could be more breweries coming out. Find out after this. But I guess for now we can put that topic to bed. But anything else that you guys are hearing in the beer world? Sean, have you followed up on the beer pulse thing? Because a couple things came through on my feed. I
haven't actually.
So only a couple things came through on my my RSS feed for beer pulse. So it's still operating.
Still the same.
Still, yeah. So
still the same as last week. And Brian, is last week's show posted yet? Maybe because people.
It's posted. It's posted.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a thing where Thursday last week I did 2 episodes, and then Friday I posted Wednesday's episodes. So we did it.
Nice.
We're all caught up.
Nice.
But who was I talking? Oh man. Yep. I just lost my train of thought. That's so stupid because it was awesome. It's probably gold, but never mind.
All right. While you're gathering your train of thought, I have to give a shout out to an event that's happening this weekend.
Yeah, go ahead.
If anyone out there is interested in local hop beer at all, main hops, local ingredients, like crazy experimentation, you need to get tickets to go to Infinity's Hoptoberfest. So Maine, we talked about this a bunch of episodes ago. Maine had its biggest hop harvest in 100 years this year, and there are more than 14 breweries that are going to be at this little mini fest that's going to happen in Infinity. The price of the ticket includes some food and samples and whatnot of all of these fantastic beers. But this is really a chance to taste what Maine actually tastes like. These hops that were grown in Maine, they're not all IPAs that are showing up at this thing. There's Brettanomyces fermented stuff. There's all kinds of things. So even if you're not like a crazy hop head, please check out this event. I am super excited about it. I was excited as soon as they told me there was going to be one place where I could try all these local hop beers. But people like Tributary, Allagash, Bissell Brothers, everybody in between is going to be at this thing. So check out Infinity's Facebook page or the Hop Yard's Facebook page, and it's called Hoptoberfest, and it's happening in Infinity on Saturday from 12 to 4. But it's a thing that they're doing it like a fest, so you have to buy the tickets. So don't just like show up and think it's like a tap takeover. It's a thing. So please come up, and if you see me, say hi. But it's going to be an awesome event. I'm actually more excited about this than I am the Brewers Festival that's happening up here on November 1st, because it's just one of those big, everybody gets together and has a brew fest. This is specific, and it's the only place where you can get all these fresh hop beers all in one place.
Yes.
So.
I'll put the link in to Brown Paper Tickets in the show notes, and it's still, as of this taping, it's 115 tickets remaining, which means, Infinity's big, but I can't wait to see what they're going to do and how they're going to lay it out, because I love that place. Yeah. So nice. But oh my God, our private chat's going crazy between us four here. But I did catch my train of thought while I was laughing just then. I got an email from anyone that follows the site Taplister. Taplister was created in Portland, Oregon. It was a way for bars to post what they have on tap on their phones or on a mobile website. You can go and look on the phone to see, okay, this bar has this on tap. He sent an email out, I think 2 months ago. I said on the show, I said farewell to him. Well, it turns out, I think the day after I talked about it on the show, someone had offered to buy Taplister from Carrie. And,
Whoa!
And as of yesterday, he officially passed the torch to the new person who bought Taplister. So,
hello to the new millionaire.
Exactly. So whoever had bought it from him, I'm sure you're going to see that name more often. Taplister. I know very few bars here in the East Coast use it, but it's starting to spread out. But if you go to a place called Bailey's Tap Room in Portland, they have the TV that has, if you check in your beer on Untapped, which is a mobile application for checking in beer, you'll show up on TV. How cool is that, guy? Sean and Carl, you saw that.
That was so awesome.
Oh, so crazy.
I just want to go back there to be on the TV.
Yep, I might just check in there anyway, and then maybe it'll show up, tonight. But I have a VPN set up. We'll all dial in. That's nerd talk. But congratulations to Kerry. He's no longer working for Taplister. He gave his baby away, and it's now under new hands, so it should be good.
I need to make that and sell it, then just live off of beer for the rest of my life. That'd be awesome.
Man, we live off of beer podcast. We don't live off it.
I just wish I could get paid to just drink beer. That'd be awesome.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up here. Carla, we'll get back to you if you think of anything before we wrap it up. Let us know. Beard baby, Norm. What do you got?
I have 2 events I wanted to plug. The first one is on Sunday. Backpages Books in Waltham is hosting Booktoberfest. It's a festival that includes several beer authors, including myself, Tom Asatelli from Audacity of Hops, Lauren Clark from Crafty Bastards. Nice. We're all going to give about an hour-long talk about the book, signed books. There's also going to be several breweries pouring beer. Backlash Brewing Company, Barleycorns, Framingham Beer Works, Cambridge Brewing Company, John Harvard's. The Tap's going to be there. So it's a 5-hour event starting at noon on Sunday. Like I said, Backpages Books in Waltham, and it's a good time if you want to come listen to some passionate people about beer, talk for a little while, buy some books, and drink some good beer. And the second event we talked about a little before the show is the Wormtown Brewing Company is hosting at Peppercorns in Worcester on November 1st. It's going to be the one day they're going to be releasing bottles of Norm. Wormtown's actually in the midst of moving to a new brewery out of Peppercorn, so they're not going to be able to brew a second batch or a draft batch this year. So basically, there's going to be 2 hours. You can go there for brunch, buy bottles. I think it's a 4-bottle or maybe a 6-bottle. I can't remember off the top of my head. They have other coconut beers on tap, coconut-inspired cocktails, coconut desserts from a local bakery. I'll be signing books. And then you can, like I said, buy several bottles of Norm. If there's any left after the day, then I'll go to distributors. If they sell out, that'll be the only time you'll be able to get bottles.
Awesome. Yeah.
And you can pre-order Norm's book, and he will include the price of a Norm beer into it, and you can come pick both of them up from Norm.
It'll tickle your chin and talk like a robot like he is right now. No, but I shout out to Norman and Tom Massatelli and Lauren Clark, because Crafty Bastards is a great book. Just finished it last week, and Norm's book's okay. You know, it has the highlights of everything that's awesome. So good on you, Norm.
There's a good chance you're going to see David Fields.
David Fields. Why does that sound familiar?
He's one of the new owners that's helping to make Wormtown Mill bigger.
Oh, okay. Oh, at the Norm thing.
Yep, the Norm thing.
Shano, what do you got going on?
If you're hungry Wednesday night, next Wednesday, a week from tonight, which I will be at a beer dinner before the show at Technique in Bedford. If you're
not making it back to the show.
I will be here for the show.
Oh my God, it's a long drive, sir.
And I know it is. We'll see.
Well, what's the beer dinner? Who do we got?
603 Brewery at Technique.
I'm a fan.
There is also if you can't make that, there is a beer dinner on the night beforehand, which is Tuesday the 21st, at a Uinta beer dinner at Firefly in Manchester, and a 603 beer dinner at Stella Blue in Nashua. Oddly enough, both of them were scheduled totally different times, and didn't realize that they were 2 nights in a row.
Classic Sean. Trying to please everybody in the state. God love you.
Trying to please everybody. It happens.
Yep. I got for this weekend. I got nothing. I have committed to the Hopfest, so I'll be there. And if I'm not there, I owe Carla many beers. But also, isn't this Saturday Ghoul Ship?
Oh, I will have to double check. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I have it in my calendar, but I don't have it on front of me.
It's a big weekend in Portland. I mean, it's a big.
Well, the other thing is
Saturday or Sunday?
I don't know. It's a big year for Maine.
Well, it's a big year for Allagash too. They're coming on their 10-year anniversary of Curia, and they're doing a bunch of stuff for that, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
Carla,
yes.
I want a bottle of Cool Ship, so.
It's 2 per. So sorry.
Let's see. I'm just gonna see really quickly.
I'll finish up my old pluggies.
Yeah, do that.
We got on this. I think it's a 3rd. So we have plenty of time before I talk about this. There's a beer dinner I'm going to at a place called the Thistle Pig in South Berwick, Maine. It's
Nice.
Them and Rocky Coast Brewing. The food's amazing. I have yet to have the beer from Rocky Coast, which I believe is out of Wells, Maine.
Yeah, they're out of Wells or Gunquit.
Or right by Tully's, but like.
No,
south.
October 25th is Ghoul Ship.
Oh, so the week after. Oh, so yeah, if you're going to the Red Hook Fest, so sorry, you're gonna miss that.
And the 26th is the Rising Tide anniversary party.
I'm going to that.
Maine's got something on every week. New Hampshire's kind of slow, but like I said, next week we're going to be talking big time about the New Hampshire Brew Fest, because my God, it's my favorite of the year, and it's a great fest. A lot of brewers are going to be there. I was just talking to Throwback. They're bringing some awesome stuff. It's going to be some good bands, some good food, good times. I just like I say it every year. My favorite brew fest of the year. So I've been to some brew fests. So Carly, got a couple more quick things.
Yeah, plugs. This weekend is also the opening of Maine's 56th brewery.
Nice.
Liberty Brewing Company, congratulations, up in Liberty, Maine. For those who don't know where that is, I don't really either. It's up in the mid-coast, somewhere near Rockland. But they are opening up this weekend with a couple of beers on tap. And the second thing, what the hell is the second thing? Uh-oh. Brain going away.
Video.
I don't know what the second thing was, but we're going to have 56 breweries now starting this weekend. So
Ridiculous. And I want. Oh, how was last week's radio plug? Good.
Oh, that was the second thing. So
I knew it. Yeah, there it is.
For anybody in the Portland and/or Seacoast, New Hampshire listening area that can get WCYY, I'm on Thursday mornings now, sometime at in the 8 o'clock hour. Basically, I come ahead of time. They record a little bit with me, and they throw it in the 8 o'clock hour at some point. Went really well. This week, I'm probably going to be talking about the local hop stuff.
Awesome.
And giving a couple shout-outs to that. But if you happen to hear me, just let me know how I do. But they're relatively short, but what's fun is that I get to talk about something fun and beer every week. So
I was up in the mountains in Corinth, Vermont this past weekend, and the only station that would come through was WCYY.
Oh, neat.
And that's like up there. That's fun fact.
Yeah.
Fun fact. Corinth was where Beetlejuice was filmed. So
Oh, wow.
Nice.
if they can get it, oh, but yeah. So
Probably the only fact about Corinth.
definitely, and they have great breakfast. That's the difference. Beetlejuice. Yeah. Don't say. Oh God. All right. Anyone have anything else before we shut her down? Well, awesome. We will come back to you for episode number 95 next week on the 22nd of October. Guys, we did it. We have 5 more left, and we hit the big hundo. So let's do this. Cheers, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
We're out. And done.